Hello everyone. Welcome to the English podcast series on the PAD Podcast All Day channel. You might have noticed that today's episode is longer than usual. That's because this is a special episode to thank all our loyal viewers of the podcast All Day channel. I'm David, your host for today's PAD episode, and I'm excited to be here. Today, we're diving into a topic that many learners struggle with. I can understand English, but I can't speak. You watch movies, listen to songs, or even follow podcasts like this one, and you think, yes, I understand this. I know these words. Maybe you even know what they mean in your own language. But when it's time to speak, your mind goes blank. It's like your brain hits the pause button. The words you know, where did they go? You feel stuck, frustrated, maybe even shy. Why does this happen? Understanding English and speaking it are two different skills. Speaking takes more than just knowing words. It takes practice, courage, and patience. So today, let's explore why this happens and how to overcome it. Be sure to check out our episode PDF, packed with helpful tips and useful vocabulary to support your English learning journey. Now, are you ready? Let's dive in. The first reason is simple. You're not speaking enough. Think about it. You've probably watched tons of movies, listened to podcasts, or read English subtitles. But when was the last time you actually spoke out loud? Many learners spend hours consuming English passively, but rarely engage in active speaking practice. Speaking is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it stays weak. Just like you wouldn't expect to build strong muscles without exercising. You can't expect to speak fluently without regular practice. You might understand every word in a Netflix show, but when it's time to say something yourself, your brain panics. This happens because passive understanding and active speaking require different skills. Recognizing words in a movie or song is not the same as recalling and forming sentences in real time. Here's an example. Imagine someone who watches professional basketball games every day. They know all the rules, strategies, and even player statistics. But if you put them on the court and ask them to play, they might struggle. Why? Because watching and doing are two different things. The same principle applies to language learning. To overcome this, you need to engage in active speaking exercises. Try speaking aloud every day, even if you're alone. Narrate your actions, describe your surroundings, or even talk to yourself in the mirror. The key is to move from passive learning to active practice. The second reason, you're afraid of making mistakes. Imagine this, you're in a coffee shop. You want to order in English. But then fear kicks in. What if they don't understand me? What if I sound silly? That fear acts like a big wall, stopping you from speaking. This fear is completely natural. Many language learners worry about being judged or not being understood. But here's the truth. Most people are kind and patient, especially when they see you're making an effort to communicate. Think about a time when a tourist tried to speak your language but made mistakes. Did you laugh at them, or did you appreciate their effort? Most likely, you admired their courage. The same applies to you when speaking English. The key to overcoming this fear is to shift your focus from perfection to communication. Your goal is not to speak flawlessly, but to be understood. Mistakes are a natural part of learning and actually help you improve. Here's a tip. Practice in low-pressure situations, like ordering food or asking for directions. Speak with friends, family, or even other English learners who understand your struggles. Gradually, your confidence will grow. Remember, every mistake you make is a step toward fluency. The more you practice, the less fear will control you. The third reason, you're thinking in your first language. Many learners think in their first language, then try to translate into English. This takes time and can make sentences sound unnatural. For example, in some languages, "How old are you?" might translate as, "What is your age?" When you translate directly, it slows you down and confuses you. The reason this happens is that every language has its own structure, idioms, and ways of expressing ideas. When you translate word for word, the sentence might not sound natural in English. For example, in English we say, "I am hungry," but in some languages the direct translation might be, "I have hunger." If you try to translate word for word, you might end up with sentences that don't sound right to native speakers. But the good news? You can overcome this. One way to do this is by thinking in English as much as possible. Start with simple thoughts. Describe what you see around you or what you're doing at the moment in English. Instead of translating, try to connect words directly to their meanings in English. Another great way to train your brain is by immersing yourself in English. Listen to native speakers, read in English, and practice forming sentences naturally. The more you do this, the faster your brain will adapt to thinking in English. With practice, you'll find your voice. Over time, speaking English will feel more natural, and you'll be able to express yourself without the need to translate in your head. Let's talk about how to do that. First and most importantly, speak, even if it's not perfect. I know what you're thinking, but what if I say something wrong? Here's the truth. The goal isn't to speak perfect English. It's to communicate. Think about how babies learn to talk. Do they start with perfect grammar? No, they say things like "want cookie." And guess what? People still understand them. This works because speaking, even with mistakes, trains your brain to put words together faster. Over time, it builds fluency. This is backed by research, like Stephen Krashen's input hypothesis. He found that learners improve faster by focusing on communication rather than perfect grammar. So, how do you do this? Start small. Practice simple sentences like, "I like pizza," or "I went to the park." Then, build from there. The more you speak, the easier it gets. Another great method, shadowing native speakers. This is a fun and effective technique. Here's how it works. Listen to a native speaker and immediately repeat what they say. Copy their tone, rhythm, and pronunciation. Be their echo. Why does this work? It builds muscle memory. Your mouth and tongue get used to forming English sounds. Plus, it teaches you how real conversations flow. Here's how to try it. Pick a short clip from your favorite movie or podcast. Play it, repeat it, and try to match the speaker's voice. Even 1 minute a day makes a big difference. Here's another simple trick. Practice speaking alone. It might feel silly, but it works. Start by describing your day. This morning, I had breakfast. I ate eggs and toast. Or name objects around you. This is a chair. It's brown. Why does this help? Speaking alone removes the pressure of conversation. You can practice at your own pace. I have a friend who used to talk to her plants every day. "Hello, plant. You look happy today." Sounds funny, right? But her speaking improved a lot because she practiced every day without fear of judgment. Next, focus on learning phrases, not just words. Words alone don't flow naturally in conversation. Instead, learn chunks of language that people use every day. For example, instead of just "help," learn, "Can you help me with this?" Instead of "think," practice, "What do you think about?" These phrases are easier to remember in real conversations. Research shows that learning in chunks boosts fluency because your brain doesn't have to create sentences from scratch. Finally, let's talk about fear. Many learners hesitate to speak because they fear making mistakes. But mistakes mean you're learning. Like children fall before walking, errors help you grow. People appreciate effort more than perfection. Here's a quote I love. "Confidence comes not from being perfect, but from trying anyway." So focus on communicating, not perfect grammar. And that's a wrap for today's episode. What did you think of today's podcast? Did it give you any new insights? Let us know in the comments. We love hearing from you. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next time. Welcome back to PAD, Podcast All Day. It's your favorite duo, David and Zen. Hey Zen, have you noticed the term brain rot popping up everywhere lately?
Oh yeah, it's been trending a lot. So, David, are you curious about what it actually means?
Of course. I mean, brain rot? Sounds like a horror movie title.
Haha, it does. But in reality, it's something a lot of people deal with every day, especially with the way we live now.
So, are you saying my brain could be rotting? That's pretty disturbing, Zen.
Well, not literally. Brain rot refers to a decline in brain function due to bad habits, like lack of sleep, too much social media, or information overload.
Oh, so it's like when I can't focus after binge watching videos all night.
Exactly. And it's something people from different generations are really starting to talk about.
So, Zen, do you think people actually realize when their brains are getting overloaded like that?
Great question, David. Let me ask you and our listeners.
Have you ever found yourself endlessly scrolling on social media with no focus?
Oh, I've definitely been there.
And how about this? Have you ever struggled to remember simple things, like where you put your keys, after a night of poor sleep?
All the time. Sometimes, I feel like my brain just shuts down.
Well, that's exactly why we're diving into today's topic, brain rot. What it is, why it happens, and most importantly, how to prevent it.
So, stick around as we break it all down and share some tips to keep your brain in top shape. Alright, Zen, let's start with the basics. What exactly is brain rot?
Well, it's not as scary as it sounds, but it can have a serious impact on your life.
I'm listening. What does it do to you?
Brain rot refers to a gradual decline in brain function. You might notice things like losing focus, forgetting small details, or having trouble organizing your thoughts.
Ugh, that sounds like me every Monday morning.
Huh. But seriously, common causes include excessive social media use, too much negative information, and lack of sleep.
So, if I stay up all night scrolling TikTok, I'm basically frying my brain? Pretty much. Studies show that constant digital distractions can reduce productivity by up to 40%. Whoa, that's a lot. But does social media affect focus in other ways too?
Definitely. A study by Microsoft found that since the rise of social media and smartphones, the average attention span has dropped from 12 seconds to just 8 seconds.
8 seconds. That's shorter than a goldfish's attention span.
Exactly. Your brain gets overwhelmed when it processes too much information at once, making it harder to concentrate or remember things.
No wonder I can't finish a book anymore. So, let me guess, limiting screen time is a solution, right?
That's a big part of it. Experts suggest taking regular breaks from screens, what's called a digital detox.
Okay, maybe I can survive a day without memes.
Another cause of brain rot is a lack of mental stimulation.
Ah, so doing the same boring stuff every day makes your brain lazy.
Exactly. When your brain isn't challenged, it starts to lose its sharpness.
Okay, so what can I do to keep my brain active?
Try learning a new skill, solving puzzles, reading books, or even picking up a hobby.
Maybe I'll finally learn how to play the guitar.
That's a great idea. And of course, lifestyle choices matter too.
Oh, this doesn't sound good.
Poor sleep, bad diet, and no exercise? Those are all major brain rot triggers.
Guilty. I stayed up until 2 a.m. last night eating pizza.
Well, no wonder you're feeling sluggish today.
So better sleep, better food, and more exercise. Got it.
Exactly. Your brain is like a high-performance engine. It needs the right fuel to run well.
All right, Zen. Now it's time to learn some vocabulary from today's chat. Zen, sure thing.
Sure thing. Let's start with neuroplasticity.
That's a fancy word. What does it mean?
Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to adapt and create new connections.
So, kind of like when you learn a new language, your brain builds new pathways.
Exactly. Next up, digital detox.
That's when you take a break from screens, right?
It helps refresh your mind by reducing information overload.
All right, next phrase. Mental stimulation.
That's when you challenge your brain with activities like puzzles or learning new skills.
Ah, so it's like a mental workout.
You got it. Here's an important one. Sleep deprivation.
That means not getting enough sleep, and it messes with your memory and energy levels.
Exactly. And last one, brain rot.
That's when your brain feels slow and foggy because of unhealthy habits. Now, here's a question for all of you listening. Have you ever experienced brain rot? What habits do you think caused it?
And what's one small habit you've tried that helped refresh your mind?
For me, exercising in the morning makes a big difference. What about you, Zen?
Planning my day ahead on Sundays keeps me focused during the week.
All right, listeners, share your thoughts in the comments. All right, Zen, we've covered a lot about brain rot, but there's something we haven't touched on yet. How our thoughts play a role in all this.
You're right. Negative thinking can be just as harmful as social media overload.
So, if I always think, I'll never be successful, am I making my brain weaker?
Pretty much. Studies show that negative thought patterns reduce creativity and problem-solving ability.
Wow, so our mindset really matters.
Exactly. That's why gratitude and positive thinking can actually rewire your brain for the better.
So, if you're listening and thinking, maybe my brain needs a reset, now's the time to take action.
And remember, small changes lead to big results. Start with one habit today.
That's a wrap for today's episode. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.
And don't forget to check out the free PDF in the description for key takeaways and vocab.
Thanks for tuning in. Take care of your brain, stay sharp, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
See you soon.